Brilliant. Well, yeah, first of all, I want to say good afternoon to everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are doing our fourth webinar this afternoon of the year, just looking at posture and the pelvis. Getting into a good rhythm with these now, and quite a lot out to people. It's just always good to get any feedback on this. If you've been on any previous ones as well, you'll know that we have got the chat kind of function active as well. So as we're going through anything today, if you've got any questions or queries, do just post them through there. I'll hand over to Tristan. Give us a wave, Tristan. There he is, and he'll look to field any of those questions as we go through. But yeah, thank you very much for coming across. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Ben Stirling. I am one of the assessors here at Yorkshire Care. Been with the company for a good couple of years now, and just go out and actually assess for specialist seating as my day-to-day role. So just a bit of background on who we are. Can everyone see the slides okay? I'll just look for a couple of nods before. There we go. That's good. I should have probably led with that, but it's good to get a few nods before we carry on. For those who don't know who we are as a company, we were established in 1972. We're a family-run business, and what we do on a day-to-day basis, we've been doing for a good 40+ years, providing specialist seating. We provide a range of other care equipment as well, but we generally look at specialist seating as our general day-to-day. There is other bits and pieces that we do. So for anyone who's unsure or wants to know more about the other bits and pieces, do check out our website, and we will provide links and resources at the end of this. One of the regular questions we get as well is, will the slides be available? Yes, we can make those slides available for you. Just let us know, and we can certainly send that across. Okay, but yeah, as a company, we've been doing what we do for a good while, and we enjoy what we do. Our mission status there to enhance quality of life. That is generally what we're about. So, as I say, we provide assessments. We work alongside OTs and care services and professionals in the community and in hospitals as well. And we have plenty of resource. As I say, we've got our seating assessment resource there on our website. It's free to download, and a lot of what we're covering today is found in there as well. So if you're wanting to go into more depth or look at more of that, then that's where to go. So as I say, today we're looking at the pelvis and posture. And obviously the question that generally is asked on that is, why is the pelvis so important when it comes to seating? Now, probably the best way to describe this is looking at the building of a house, really. The first thing you do when you're building a house, you need to build an adequate foundation. Without foundation on any kind of building, it's either going to lean or it's going to have the potential of collapsing, over time. And the same is true of seating, really. The pelvis is really the foundational part when it comes to seating. We want to make sure that we've got the pelvis in a good position, in a solid position, so that we can then build the posture up from that. We can then improve everything else from that. But the pelvic position is dictating how the spine and how the legs are positioned. So we want to get that right first and foremost. It is the foundation, as we're saying. So there we go. The pelvis is the foundation of good seating. It dictates how the spine and legs will be positioned, as I said. So there are different areas to the pelvis. Generally speaking, we want to make sure that we're central. So how do we do that? We want to look at the different areas of the pelvis, really. So we've got the ACEs bones, which are the pointy bones at the top, your pieces, and your ischial tuberosities, which is a very fun thing to say, but we will just be calling it ITs from here on, just to save my voice and save some time. But yes, those are the kind of key areas that we're looking at on the pelvis. Now, to find the ACEs, what you would generally do, you'd want to put your hands on the hips, and then you'd want to position your hands round the front. Now, the golden rule for this, before we get to grips with someone and look to start adjusting and setting their posture, would be to explain what we're doing to the client before we measure, before we start touching, before we start getting things into position. It was explained on the last webinar that we did, but you want to be sure that people are clear before we start to move around or start to put hands on people. So yeah, we want to find the ACEs first. The way to do that, popping our hands on the hips and then just bringing our hands around the front to locate the top of the ACEs there. And then we can start to see where we are. Are we out of line? Are we in line? Do we need to maybe do some adjustment there? The pieces as well, located around the client's back. It's generally just above the buttocks and below the indents that you find on the back of someone. Again, you can generally feel from around there and start to set people's positions. Ideally, we want the ACEs and the pieces to be level with the pelvis. If it's tilted either way, then posturally speaking, we're going to have some difficulty. So as I say, the ITs as well, they are. It's easy to be for instability to occur. So we want to make sure that the ITs move forward away from the backrest. Otherwise, we're going to be slouching. We're going to be, we want to be quite level, quite central in the seat. If they're pointing towards the backrest, the client is sat in an arched back or an anterior pelvic tilt. If they're forward, then it's a posterior tilt or sacral sitting. So we want to be just right with that as well, really. There's a number of things that can go wrong, but measuring and feeling around for that and getting everything aligned is what we're looking for first and foremost when we come to seating someone in the chair. So in terms of posture, in terms of fixed posture and flexible posture, this is something that is quite often debated about. There's generally a debate on whether something is when somebody actually does have a fixed or flexible posture. The terms are quite loose. Sometimes people argue that you're only really fixed if your bones are fused and things. Suffice to say, when we're coming in and we're assessing someone, basically we want to see how much mobility there is. So if it's a flexible posture, you've got a chance to correct the client's posture and adapt them even more to the chair that they're in. If they are fixed or if there's limited movement and difficult to move, then what we're probably looking at more so is to accommodate the seating with extra support or extra accessories to actually make sure that that person is seated correctly and supported correctly. But those are the two fundamental things that we're looking at when we're starting to assess someone with a seating. Do they have a flexible posture, i.e. can they move, or are they more fixed, in which case we need to do some help, provide some further support and further help there. So we're going to go through a couple of, quite a few different positions and abnormalities and things to support that we generally come across when we are carrying out seating assessments. And what you'll tend to find is that some of the abnormalities may be in effect, the others may be, when we're looking at this, sorry, I'll explain that again. When we're looking at this, we might find that we're repeating ourselves in both a cause and a potential condition that can occur. Reason for that, it's not really a mistake. What we're looking at here is that certain scenarios, the cause of the abnormality may also be in effect as well. You may find that two things are happening, or it could be the two things happening there. Tristan, do you want to just help me explain that a bit more? Because I'm conscious I've just fluffed that one twice and I don't want to try a third time.
No problem. Well, I think it's probably explained best in the language on the slide there, that what caused the abnormality in one person might be an effect of the abnormality in another patient. So
there you
go. So well, just that really. The abnormality could be an effect of something else. Sorry, I'm fluffing it now. There is some more information on this in our seating ebook, which we can send a link to around afterwards. It's a bit of a difficult one to explain, but there is a paragraph on the subject there.
Yeah.
It'll probably become a bit more apparent when you go on to the next slide, Ben.
Yes.
I think we've put for each one of these abnormalities, we've put a list of possible causes and a list of possible effects of that abnormality, and you might see that some of those are listed twice. That's another way of saying it. So there we go.
Yeah,
Back to you, Ben.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. Basically, you'll notice that certain causes and conditions and problems that can occur are generally the same, are going to be noted twice. It's not a mistake. It's just generally the way things can transpire. So let's get on to the next one. Hopefully that will make more sense. I'm just going to wait on the chat for questions to just fly up there now as we go through, but hopefully it gets clearer as we go. So let's get to the first one. So if we're talking about someone, we're coming into an assessment and someone has a posterior tilt, what we're going to be looking at there, we're going to notice that the PCIS and the ACIS, the PCIS is lower than the ACIS and the pelvis is tilted backwards. Another way of explaining this would be sacral sitting, which might be more familiar term to people. So what's the possible causes of that? Sliding forwards in the seat could be one. They could have an abnormal or quite a weak trunk or just poor tone and poor core strength. Or the seat could just be poorly fitted, in which case they're just slouching into the chair. Now, problems that can arise from that, you could have breathing problems, respiratory problems, or trouble swallowing. You could be sliding out of the chair. You could be sacral pressure damage or pressure sores around that because you are sliding out, and there could be some shearing.
There we go, Ben. That's a good example there. So
exactly.
we can see that sliding forwards in the seat, that could be a cause of posterior tilt, but the posterior tilt might have been caused by something else, and an effect could be that they slide out of the chair. So hopefully that explains what we've been trying to explain for about 5 minutes there.
It's the chicken and the egg, isn't it, Tristan? That's what we went with, but yes. Okay, so possible solutions on that. What would we look to do? What would we be considering to correct that? First and foremost, you've got to make sure that the measurements of the seats are correct. So often we find that people have generally just bought an off-the-shelf chair and it's just not suitable. It's too big, it's too small, and just not correctly set up for that. So obviously that's where we come in and we would assess. We'd find a chair that's going to fit and hopefully resolve that issue. We may, if they were using a foot plate, we may ensure that the foot plate is at the right height for them. We might need to adjust the back angle, just make a few tweaks there. And in more complex cases, we might even start to consider a tilting space chair. Reason for that, rather than putting all that pressure, as we were talking about there with the sacral pressure damage, rather than putting all the pressure into the lower back and spine, it would spread the pressure out across the whole of the body, in which case you're then resolving that issue and just giving that client a much better solution and much better comfort. So the opposite of that, we're looking at an anterior tilt. So in this case, the pelvis is tilted forwards. So the PCIS is higher than the ACIS. Possible causes for that, again, it could be down to weak abdominal muscles or obesity. Again, it could just be that the chair is just has been poorly fitted. It's not the correct size and shape for them. And what that can generally cause is reduced upper limb function, bladder issues and back pain. And again, you can have pressure damage in and around certain areas there, around the pubic region in this particular case. Again, we'll be looking at correct seating measurements first and foremost. We get the pelvis positioned correctly, and then we'll be able to see very quickly, is the chair too shallow? Is the chair too deep? We can then start to make corrections. We'd also look at maybe assessing for lordosis if the spine is obviously just a bit more protruding there, and just check the hip flexion as well. Are they, what sort of movement have we got there? And in some instances, it might be a case that they just need to lead a little bit of a healthier lifestyle and start to encourage a bit more activity and weight loss there if necessary, though. Okay, we've then obviously got pelvic obliquity. So obviously, if we're coming in and we're looking for where the pelvis is lining up, and we notice we're a little bit off, general causes of that most often than not is scoliosis. We do also get obviously hip dislocations and asymmetrical muscle tone there, but it could just be, again, a simple case that the seat's too wide and someone's just naturally leaning to one side, and or the armrest is too high, so it's kind of pushing them a little bit more to one side. Like I say, scoliosis is is a problem that can occur as well. So again, this is an example, chicken and the egg that we were talking about before. it could cause scoliosis if we've got a certain problem there, or positional problem. It can result in pressure issues, and also there's less space for organs and things as well. So we want to obviously make sure we're alleviating as much of that as possible. So the key thing there is to ensure we've got the correct seat width. Again, if the chair's too wide, then you naturally are going to pick a side to lean on, and that's what could cause that. We want to assess what sort of control they have as well within their trunk. Do they need more support? Do they need maybe a bit more lateral support, or just a bit more help with their tone there? Again, we check their hip range. Is it more of a fixed issue here that we need to accommodate for, or is there a level of flexibility there? And also look for spinal curvatures. Usually we're kind of informed beforehand on that, and we can obviously come ready and raring to go. But obviously at the same time, we are always generally prepared to kind of bring extra accessories and supports to combat that too, and ensure that we're ensuring the best possible posture for them. So the next one we've got here is a pelvic rotation. So rather than the pelvis being up, it might be outwards and forwards a little bit, as you can see. So one axis is further forward than the other. Again, that could be down to the fact that the person has got an asymmetrical leg length, one leg longer than the other, or hip abduction. They might have a lack of trunk and backrest support, or the seat again might be too wide. And again, it's just causing them to sit in an awkward way in the chair. I'm moving around here, you can't see, but essentially moving to one side or favoring one side. And again, what that can generally cause, if we're not careful, it can cause wind sweeping and deformities. Because if you're favoring one side, your legs are generally going one side as well. It can cause a lot of back pain. So again, we're just making sure the seat width is correct. We're looking at the leg length there. Are there some discrepancies? You can generally tell as well if you've got the feet planted firmly on the ground, and you can then generally see if there's one leg protruding further than the other, or you get a good idea from just lining up the pelvis as best as you can, and just it becomes very apparent very quickly. So using the tips we have, just having the ASIS and the pieces in line, and just making sure the hips are in a level position, you can then start to see what the true problem is. Again, we would look at checking the hip range there as well. Is there any fixed kind of position if they've got flexibility? And ensuring that the thigh support is equal as well. So when they are sat essentially as we can get them, are their thighs fully supported from the back to the front of the chair? Okay, so we're looking then at abduction and adduction. The legs are either too close together or too far apart from the midline position. I probably am too far, if I'm honest. If I'm sat in a chair, my legs are generally open a bit more. I'm working on it, but yes, that's just one kind of example there for you. Possible causes of that could be pelvic rotation, leg length discrepancy, or just incorrect seat width again. So if the chair is too wide, you could just encourage that, or too shallow, it could be just pushing the legs too far in. And again, that can cause pressure issues and a lot of hip pain as well. So we want to make sure when we're coming in, we're getting the correct seat width. We're ensuring that the legs are supported effectively and properly throughout the throughout the leg, upper leg really. So from the back, from the pelvis through the thighs to their knees there, and just making sure it's a good height, correct seat height for them. So we're looking at a 90-degree kind of bend at the knee really, to make sure that we're supporting them correctly. And then just check again that the pelvis is rotated, and if it is correct, if possible. Okay. So other kind of deformities, we mentioned it a few moments ago, windswept and hip deformities. So it looks as if the wind's blown and will make the legs drift to one side. So when they say windswept, that's what we're kind of looking at. Again, we're looking from the pelvis out, so it could be as a result of the pelvic rotation, abduction of one leg and abduction of the other, dislocated hips, or even again scoliosis. Those are the kind of causes. And what you tend to find, a lot of hip and back pain and a lot of discomfort there. And in turn, you do then get a lot of pressure issues, because if you think about it, if we're looking at the ITs that we mentioned before, if you are kind of pushed to one side, it's going to put a lot of pressure in one area, and then it's going to cause a lot more problems over time. So we would again assess the pelvis, look at the range of motion, and just try and get them as neutral as possible. We want to obviously consider the seat cushion as well. Do we need some pommels as well, just to kind of discourage the legs from going in a certain direction? These are all things we can look at. You might want to look at leg channels as well, just to encourage a straight line on the leg rather than looking at a pommel. And then assess underlying causes as well and try and minimize that where possible. Next, we're kind of looking around the spine, curvature of the spine. So we're looking first at kyphosis. So that is the curvature of the spine that makes the top of the back look more rounded. So they're kind of coming more forward out of the chair. Possible causes of that could be a posterior pelvic tilt. So again, talking around the sacral sitting side of things. Osteoporosis could be a big cause of that. And then problems that can occur, you get back pain or fatigue, a lot of pressure damage, and then there tends to also be a lot of nerve problems as well over time. And naturally, with you sitting further forward, you're then going to struggle to breathe as well, and it's going to cause problems there. So if there is a pelvic tilt and we can correct it, that's the first thing we're going to look to do. It could just be the case that it's more of a habitual, in which case you can start to train and encourage back into a chair so they're sitting more up. You might want to consider an articulating backrest on the chair, or just something that's going to follow the line of the back and spread the pressure across the back more. And then just ensure there's some head support there as well, so that again, we're spreading the pressure away from back pain and everything else. We're able to spread across the legs, spread across the back, and just try and bring a bit more of a solution there. The next one we're looking at is scoliosis, so more of a sideways curvature or a twist of your spine. Looks like a C or an S shape. Some possible causes of that: pelvic obliquity or rotation. Again, osteoporosis or cerebral palsy as well. Again, you generally have a lot of pain in your back from that, in your shoulders or in your neck. Again, it can result in a lot of digestive issues, so constipation, some respiratory problems, or other issues with internal organs as well. So what we're generally looking at doing in some cases, we would maybe look at correcting it if we can, and just kind of encourage more of a, by putting in certain accessories and supports, you can maybe encourage the spine to be straight a little bit more. In the cases though where we can't necessarily correct, we would just look to consider supporting it as best as possible, so that it doesn't get any worse, and it's we're able to keep the person more central and accommodate for it. Again, we would consider trunk support there as well, so more lateral supports along the sides, just to make sure that that person is one, comfortable, but two, supportive and not in danger of getting any worse. We've also then got lordosis as well, so lumbar curve of the spine, basically. Again, possible causes around this, you're looking at either the anterior pelvic tilt, it could be tight hip flexors, or an even muscle tone as well, that can generally cause this. Your standard sort of problems, you get a lot of lower back pain there. And again, your range of movement is very much limited from that as well. So solution-wise, we see if the pelvis is incorrectly positioned first and foremost, and correct it where possible. And then we want to look at supporting the spine appropriately as well. So again, it's all about just making sure the position of the pelvis, if it can be corrected and leveled up and straightened, we'll do that. And then we start to support along the way from that. If we can't correct the pelvis so much, then we would again look to support and add extra things around that to keep a central line and support the trunk as much as we can. We also deal with a lot of contractures. So obviously when the elastic tissues in your legs are replaced with more fibrous materials, your legs and knees can get fixed into certain positions. This generally comes from reduced use, or it could be a neurological disorder, or it can also be nerve damage and traumatic injury as well. Again, it just results in problems that generally occur off the back of that are incorrect posture, and then pressure damage can come, and then further complications can come off the back of that. And as you can imagine, if you are suffering with contractures, it's very quick and easy to slide out of a chair or to find it difficult to sit. So quite often we find people generally in bed then, or they're in bed while they find a solution for them. I know in a lot of instances when we come, we are looking to obviously support that. And what we tend to do from our solution side of things, we first and foremost want to assess the range of motion, because although someone does have a contracture, it's quite often the case they can move it a little. And in that instance, we then look to consider a negative leg rest on any seating that we'd offer. So just to ensure that the chair would be more of that sort of angle to follow the line of the leg. But with that also comes a lot of pressure in the feet. So you want to consider maybe a softer padded foot plate there, or something along the back of the leg there as well, to ensure that we're not going to put more pressure there or cause any sores. You might need to consider a split leg rest, because if only one knee is contracted and the other's okay, you might then look at just maybe splitting the leg rest or splitting the seat so that you've can accommodate the good leg and the contracted one as well. So leg length discrepancy. So when one of the client's legs is longer than the other, basically, straightforward. So possible causes of that, generally birth defect or deformity after a certain injury or surgery. Again, it just results in poor posture and pressure problems, and transfer issues as well. It's just much more difficult to get in and out and move around from chair to chair. So for us, we want to ensure that the leg length discrepancy is actually that and not a pelvic issue. If it is a pelvic issue, then we're looking at obviously seeing what we can do to correct that. But we want to make sure that both thighs are supported in the chair equally, and spreading that pressure across a larger surface area as possible. We want to maybe consider a step seating cushion, or maybe a padded foot block as well. So on one side, if there is one leg particularly longer than the other, we might just want to build up one side and keep the other at a standard sort of level, so that we can provide the same sort of support for each foot. And again, you might want to consider a split leg rest there as well, just so that we can support each leg in the way that it needs. And that is my side of things here. Appreciate we've gone through quite a lot of information there. As I say, the slides are available. I'm going to hand over to George, who's going to do a bit of a run through of one particular chair we've been working on in engineering. But are there any questions there, Tristan, or is there any? Does anyone have any questions on what we've covered there so far?
Not so far. I think we can. I'm sure there'll be questions at the end. So should we do all the questions in the end section? Yeah, we've had one come through, but should we leave that until the end? Is that right, Ben?
Yeah, fine with that. I'll hand over to George. That's no problem.
I'm just very excited about this next bit, and I'm sure others are too. So did you want to just cancel your screen sharing, and then we'll pass over to George in the assessment showroom?
So me being a whiz at technology, Tristan, I assume I just push the stop share. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Oh,
thank you, Ben.
Look at that. Thank you.
Good. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming on this seating webinar. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's George from Yorkshire Care Equipment. We're a family-run business and been in the business now for 15 years. We've really built up the business on specialist seating, so assessing individuals for specialist pieces of equipment, mainly around seating. And that's what we are really passionate about and excited to share with you today. Appreciate, Ben, you going through all the many different posture issues which can affect patients, but really there's good, excellent technology and developments where we can really help patients to bring them back into a good posture again. About 5 years ago, we worked on developing a care chair. For many years, we'd been distributors of multiple well-known manufacturers, often frustrated us because we'd like one part of a chair to be on another, or another development. We'd keep forwarding development requests and nothing really seemed to be happening. So we thought, well, let's just quickly develop our own chair, bring it to market, job done. So we thought that would be 2 months. It took us 2 years. So I think the proof of that is that we put a lot of time and effort and thought into it, did a lot of research, and that was the Lento Care Chair. Some of you may know that's a very multiple adjustable chair without the need for tools. It can follow the course of somebody's condition as it deteriorates. One chair, but with multiple accessories. And what we've really also proven is the high level and degree of comfort that chair gives. We've had a lot of testimony to the fact that it really is incredibly comfortable, which is fantastic, because it's all about really our mission to enhance quality of life for the patient. So for a number of years now, we've been thinking, could we transfer that concept into a rise and recline chair? We've been scratching our heads because, of course, the motion of a rise and recline chair works completely differently to a tilting space care chair. And everything seemed to conflict, the movement, or how would we bring this adjustment and that adjustment into the chair? So very exciting on this Friday afternoon to be unveiling, drum roll, the new Lento Rise and Recline Chair. So we'll just take the cover off the chair. So for those of you that are familiar with the Lento Care Chair, you'll notice it looks very much identical, but just obviously closer to the floor, with it being a rise and recline chair. So I'll run through the really what the concept was and what it can offer, over and against a typical rise and recline chair that we ourselves, have been selling for many years, but with so many features packed into one chair, which will give multiple benefits to either the patient, yourselves as a caregiver, you might be a loan store manager, hospital ward manager, multiple marketplaces. We see this really been revolutionary in terms of what it can offer all together in one chair. So again, just going back to the brief of the Lento Care Chair, comfort, multiply adjustable without tools, and something which would follow the condition as you might say deteriorates with a patient, and we've been able to replicate that, we believe, in this chair. So starting off with the level of adjustment and ease, I want to really stress that, of adjustment. So first of all, I'll just swivel the chair round so you can see more clearly. We've got seat width adjustment, very easily adjustable, so from 17 and out to 22 inches for your different size patients. We've got arm height adjustment, so by removing the arm, we've got a couple of pull pins here where we can adjust up and down, so we can adjust from 6 inches to 9 inches. So you'll see now we've got one arm higher than the other. We've got very simple back height adjustment. So for your taller users, so taking it up from 30 inches back height to 34 inches back height, you might notice that there's a little bit of tapering on the top cushion there. Well, if we spin that round by 180 degrees, we've got an additional 4 inches there in back height for the taller users. And then we've also got seat depth adjustment. I'm just going to remove the arm so you can see more clearly. Pointing here to an adjustable hand screw knob with a series of holes either side. So that's exactly the same on the other side. So by undoing the screw knob, I can then position it in another of the holes, and that will give us seat depth adjustment from 15 all the way out to 21 inches for your taller users, again, without the need of use for tools. And the last adjustment is our seat height. So as we know, patients differing sizes. So the width we've covered, the depth, and of course, critically, the seat height. Well, it's no ordinary action, this. We've put a lot of effort and time and research into an action which would actually build in some seat height adjustment. So it might be easier to see from the side. Now, as we know, there are varying rise actions. We've got the vertical lift, you've got what they call a mid lift, you've got a tilt and recline, so it tilts further forward. Some of them don't have much height raise at all and just literally tilt forward, which of course would cripple the patient there at the knee. So when this comes up, for the first 4 inches, it goes up vertically. So height adjustment right the way down from 17 inches, so for your shorter users, right the way up to 23 inches. We've also got a bit of adjustment in the glides as well at the bottom of the chair where we can unscrew those. But very simply, just by raising the chair, we've also got 4 inches of adjustment there. So 5 levels of adjustment for your patient: seat width, seat depth, arm height, back height, and seat height, which is great because we've been able to build it all into one chair, which we believe will, suit at least 80% of your patients. So I'm going to run through now different areas of the chair. You'll notice that we have a lateral shaped cushion in the backrest, which comes as standard. So what we call a waterfall lateral back. Each of these cushions being individually adjustable, so zips at the back where you can adjust, you can fill or take out wadding to accommodate some of the postures which Ben's been speaking about. However, if somebody's need is greater than what's shown in this chair, i.e. they've got such a heavy lean that they start to push the lateral out, well, there's multiple different and some very simple accessories which can help correct somebody's posture. First of all, you'll notice the wing on the side of the chair here. Well, we can go for a deeper wing. Now you might say, well, how's that going to help? So a wing which is 4 inches deeper. The way that works is that with that coming further forward and pressing against the lateral, you'll see that now the lateral's got nowhere to go. So it in turn firms it up, giving a better lateral support. Now, another very, very simple accessory is simply a triangular wedge. So available in different thicknesses, 3 inch or 6 inch. You might find that, yes, somebody needs a lateral support, but they also have quite an acute lean to one side. Well, with it all being Velcro adjustable, we can place the wedge in the desired position behind the cushion, and that now is giving more support on the right than on the left. So if somebody's got a lean to the right, we're helping to correct that. And that's really simply just by a little wedge. They're incredible what a difference they can make to somebody's posture. And then lastly, if we've got somebody who really has a very dense maybe side, really has quite kyphotic and really leaning to one side, we've got what we call a cocoon backrest. So you'll notice here that you've got lateral support right from top to bottom. You can also individually adjust each of the sections on this back. So if you want to accommodate more of a kyphosis, or you need to put additional wadding on one side, we can do that. And of course, we can use in conjunction with the wedges if we want to give a bit more support on one side. So this is great where our standard waterfall lateral back hasn't worked. This will work. It gives an excellent degree of support and posture. So I've run through a few of the backrest options which are available. Simple accessories, so Velcroable onto the chair. In terms of headrests, At the back of the chair here, we have a little Velcro tab. So you'll see I peel that back there. And what that means, on a weighted flap with Velcro all the way down, I can adjust, depending on where the patient needs it, to give head support in the chair. So it might be just a soft pillow headrest that they need, or we can go for a soft profile headrest to support somebody around the headrest, around the neck, maybe where they've got a weakness there. Now, the ultimate head support, which we offer, I'm just going to quickly wheel on our Lento Care chair because I didn't fit it to the Lento Rise and Recline Chair, is a multiple adjustable headrest. So you'll see here we've got a bar at the back of the chair. This same bar, which is just by a couple of Allen screws, can fit to the Lento Rise and Recline Chair. We've got a series of adjustments here on the headrest. We can add in or remove links as we need to lengthen the length of the headrest. We can also move this headrest to one side if somebody's head is in a different position. And then, of course, we can open up or we can close up the headrest to really support somebody around the neck. So, for example, your multiple sclerosis patients or your motor neurone patients who've got very little support for the head, this is excellent in terms of being able to meet their needs. So I'll just wheel this off. So I think what you've probably picked up as I've been going through the accessories which are available, it may start out for somebody that they just need a small amount of lateral support in their rise and recline chair, but unfortunately, as their condition progresses, we've got these extra accessories here which we can add to the chair. So not taking away one chair, replacing with another, need to justify another chair, etc., but just something that will follow the line of somebody's condition. And that's really important too in terms of the seat sizing adjustments. It might be as somebody posture changes that we perhaps need to lengthen the seat depth or change the arm height, etc. So I think that's really, really important to be able to build all this adjustment into one chair. In terms of the seat cushion, as standard, you've got a reflection foam, medium risk. So you've got a visco seat and leg rest wrap with a cushion, a removable cushion underneath. So we can upgrade that to a gel high pressure relief or even to an alternating air, depending on the patient's requirements. You might have noticed as well, if I turn the chair square on there, I do feel we've got a really good wide leg rest, which is important for your 22-inch wide leg rest. So for your patients with edema, you know, a lot of swelling, then you've got a wide supportive leg rest. So in terms of the weight limit on the chair, this has got a weight limit of 23.5 stone. So, you know, in order to cater somebody right from, you might say they need a 15-inch seat width, 15-inch seat depth, 17-inch seat height, so somebody very small, right the way out to 22-inch width, 21 inches depth, 23 inches height, so maybe somebody 6'2", 6'4". So I think you'll see there as a really illustrating the full spectrum of patients that this one chair can accommodate. We can also very easily, again without tools, fit either a 2-point or a 4-point belt to the chair. There is a separate caster kit as well, which can be added on. This is on glides. You'll see I can move it quite easily, particularly if it was on a wooden floor. That's what we'd recommend. But if the client or for some reason, you know, the caregiver feels that casters would be useful, that they can be added on. The patient can't be pushed in the chair. That's not what it's designed for. It's just to move it. So in the event of cleaning. Now, in terms of the action of the chair, as standard, it comes with a single tilt in space action. So really important that we're offering a tilt in space action. So not just a standard action, but where the backrest, the seat, and the leg rest move together. So as I keep my finger on the button, you'll notice that the backrest starts going back and then the leg rest comes out. So this will bring up to a really good high leg rest elevation, which is really important if somebody's suffering with fatigue or poor blood flow circulation, edematous legs. So that takes us to our full recline version in the single tilt in space. Now, for quite a lot of patients, we have to specify a dual motor tilt in space just because they can't tolerate, like maybe you or I can, but the normal seated position, which of course adds considerable extra cost to the chair. It also may mean that, for example, the chair is not stocked in stores and has to be a special order. We wanted to build a chair where, could we incorporate both actions or have the ability to just use one and maybe upgrade later, at a later date, if maybe the situation progresses and they need more of an open back angle. So what I'm going to show you now is at the back of the chair. You'll see here we've got a very neat, small little motor. Now, as standard in that position, you see a bar here with a series of holes. So again, without the need for tools and just removing the 2 pins, as standard on a single tilt in space, there would be a very simple metal bar there in place of the actuator. The reason for the series of holes is that you'll often find with the backrest recline, it's not needed to go right the way back. We don't encourage sleeping in the chair, but it might just be that they can't tolerate that normal seating angle. So as we go down the holes, we're opening out the backrest angle. So this, we feel, will mean that, we're not always having to specify a dual motor tilt in space chair. We can settle with a single tilt in space, but we've got the ability with a simple bar and pins just to open out the backrest angle. You'll see on this particular chair, I've set it up with the motor so I can illustrate to you what we call a dual tilt in space action. So not only do we have the single movement again, which I'll just run through, but at the same time, of course, we can open out the backrest recline and we can come just about into a lying down position there. So just conversely to that, I just want to touch on the rise facility, because I think this is really important. Again, something that we've developed with the chair. We'll know that quite a few patients need more of a vertical rise in order to rise out the chair. And often there's restrictions in terms of seat height. It may be we can only get down to a 19-inch seat height, which is typically suitable for somebody, say, of 5'7". But it might be a patient of 5'2" that benefits from the vertical rise. Well, as we know, this chair can go down to 17 inches seat height. Now, what we've got built into the frame, I apologize because it would be probably more or less impossible for you to see, but we've got a couple of holes here in the frame. I will just move the chair back and it might just catch it in the camera. A couple of holes here in the frame. So one, as you'll see, as this is rising up, this is your more standard tilt and recline. We can position the pins in the other hole and we've got a true vertical rise. So for different care environments and for different patients, that can be really useful. So we've built this into the chair as well as standard. Of course, just going back to the single motor and dual motor, which I perhaps didn't touch on, and you might be sort of questioning in your mind, well, you know, how easy is it? So if you remove the bar and then you've got to replace a motor, how do you do it? Well, I can assure you it's literally a couple of minute job. You've got handset to unplug here. So you'd replace your 4-button with your 2-button. You'd take your actuator off, unplug it, and replace it with a bar. So really, really simple in terms of being able to up it from a single to a dual, or back from a dual to a single. Now, another thought which went through our minds in terms of the loan store environment, very conscious of all the different types of chairs and maybe having to stock spares or waiting weeks, months, you know, for spares to come through. Assets can't be utilized. You know, you've got chairs sitting on one side. Every part you see on this chair, so in terms of the arm, the wing, lateral cushions, the seat cushion, are all identical to what we've used on our Lento Care chair, which you see the back of it just off screen there. So that's really key for you guys, particularly the loan stores, maybe the hospital environment as well, nursing homes. If you've got maybe a slit in the side of the chair, or, you know, a cushion which is soiled, you need it replacing. These are all parts which are stocked with us and that we can very quickly and easily replace. Cost effective as well. So, you know, you've got a small wing, you've got a separate back panel, separate armrest. So really, really simple and straightforward. People will be a bit bored now of my voice. Been going on for quite a while. Is it worth, do you think, Tristan, starting to run through a few of the questions?
Sure, we've got a number of questions here, so thanks to everyone for popping them on the chat here. I think for ease, we'll just start at the top and work down, if that's all right. So the first question we've got is for Ben, I think. Can you explain more about a stepped seating cushion? Over to you, Ben.
Yep. So basically what that would entail, George as well, you might want to jump in on this one if you on this side of things. In terms of a step seating cushion, what that's essentially doing is we're just breaking down the seat cushion itself, really. So one side might be more supported and built up a bit more than the other, just to kind of provide a bit more of an offset or support to the weaker side of the pelvis, really, if we're slightly off center there. So it's just a case of what's building up the cushion on one side more with a bit more of a denser product, maybe with some pressure relief there as well. George, anything to add on that?
Yeah, no, just to echo that. So you've got a seat cushion here with a flat front, so we could simply cut it back, so maybe a number of inches. So it might be if somebody's got a shorter thigh length discrepancy. And then, of course, if it's calf length, then that would be, as Ben's touched on, accommodated with a foot pad.
Yeah, and as I say, we just obviously with that comes the potential that you are going to put pressure on the other leg. So just maybe lining that with gel or something like that. That's why I say different materials there, just to kind of compensate for that whilst you are making changes.
That's good. Okay. And also, George mentioned about the triangle wedges that we use in the backrest to give support. Now it's worth noting that they could also be used under the seat cushion for some pelvic abnormalities. So not directly relating to that step seating cushion question, but it's just a handy thing to know that those triangle wedges, if you've got certain kind of pelvic positions that you want to correct, you could look at using those.
Absolutely. And what tends to happen with that, people tend to, in other chairs, you tend to find that they've just raked the whole seat so that it compensates for that leg, but it might, again, you might be putting pressure on the other leg that doesn't particularly need it. So just having a wedge on one side will do that support, but obviously the other side's still nicely supported with a standard cushion. So yeah, there's a few things we can do, and it's a lot more cost effective quite often as well.
Very good. Thank you, Ben. Next question, I'll have a stab at answering this one. How do you manage with bariatric patient customers, they're hard to palpate? So absolutely correct. in those kind of situations, it'd be very rare to be able to actually feel the pelvis or see the proper pelvic position in the way that you'd like to. But really, it's just about using what you can see. So often with bariatric patients, you find that there's quite a large shelf at the back, and you might find that there's actually not really a way of fixing that positioning because of the weight distribution. The pelvis might be tilted, so it might be about accommodating that with a larger second cushion in the waterfall backrest, so you're filling that space and preventing kind of further collapse. Does that make sense to you, Ben? Have you got anything to add on that? Generally, you can see in some situations, wind sweeping or abduction or that kind of thing. You can generally tell by looking without having to feel the pelvis.
I was going to say that for me, I'd then start looking at the leg positioning, to upper thighs and things, and just start to make sure that we're a bit more aligned there as well. And as you said, Tristan, just supporting the back with maybe another cushion there at the same time. But leg position then at the top of the legs is where I'd start looking and just making sure that that's even as well.
Just to jump in with one other suggestion, if it's really sort of unclear, and it might be that somebody's got pressure sores maybe on one side of the buttock and not others, well, there's some great pressure mapping tools available. So if you're really sort of up against it and there's no access to to the hips, well, it might be worth investing in a small amount of money for somebody to actually come out and pressure map that patient, so you can maybe more clearly see where the pressure points are.
Yep, and I'm sure we could. I'm sure there's people we might have worked with in the past or someone that we could pass details on. Very good, thank you. So I think the next few questions are back onto the Lento Rise Recline Chair. So first question, George, can you lock the seat height so it comes down to a preset height, or will it keep coming down until stopped?
It will keep coming down until stopped. It may possibly be something that we're able to look at, because I know we can do quite high level programming on the motors. If it's okay to defer on that one, and I'll come back individually to whoever's asked that question with a more accurate response in a few days.
Sure, yeah. I think the purpose of the chair was to make it so that out of the box it would fit as many people as possible without needing to adjust it for needing different specifications, if that kind of makes sense. So it's about, really at the moment it's something we'll look into, but at the moment it's about educating the user. And the other thing you'd point out is that most people don't sit in an upright position all day, so they will recline back, in which case the locking of the seat height isn't an issue. There is also adjustment on the glides as well, so you can raise it up on the feet, so that's another height adjustment.
And a couple of different seat cushion options of differing heights. So it may be, if you're thinking of a specific patient, that'll be the best and easiest route.
Sure. Good. So the next question is there an option of making the chair portable, or would you then just be recommending the Lento? Over to you, George, again.
Not necessarily a step from the Lento Rise and Recline Chair up to, you might say, a Lento Care Chair, particularly if somebody may be suffering with neuro or just quite a variable condition, where one day maybe they need a sit to stand, and then the next day they're able to to sit to stand themselves. We have another chair which might be more relevant for that in between, called a ProSpec Rise and Recline Chair. So in essence, the very similar features to what you can see here on this chair, but with a push handle at the back and some larger brake casters, so for mobile.
But it would be made to the right size. It doesn't have the size
Levels,
adjustment like the Lento Rise Recline, obviously. But again, that is something that we could be looking at for the future. This has been in the making for a long time, so we're working. I'm sure there's much further we can go with this, but it's a brand new concept to the marketplace. So we're very excited to get feedback and see where it takes us. We've continually developed the Lento Care Chair over the years, following feedback. So we're looking to keep doing the same. So the inevitable question, George, what is the cost of the chair?
Sure. Well, the prices that I'll be quoting you are for one individual chair. And I just want to stress that because, of course, from 2 and upwards, if we maybe got an audience, multiple audience here of loan stores or hospitals or nursing homes, which might be looking for more than one, there's certainly quantity discount available there. But the base price for an individual chair, so exactly as you see here, is 1850, so 1850. So much levels of adjustment within the one chair.
Thank you, George. I'll take the next one. I think, do you have a distributor in the US? Well, it's a brand new product to the world. As far as we're aware, there's no other product that does this. So certainly we will be looking at exporting. We do actually export Lentos all over the world at the moment, some to distributors and some directly to end users. So certainly we're open to sending further afield. I think on the Lento Care Chair, we've pretty much got them in every continent apart from Antarctica, obviously. Next question, would you be able to provide assessments in the Cornwall area? Do you have a supplier there? Now, actually, I've never been to Cornwall in my life, actually, so maybe I should go along. But Ben, did you want to take that one?
I can do, yeah. So in short, we don't have a set person in Cornwall, but as someone who's travelled up to the Highlands of Scotland and down to far south of London as well, I'm sure I could make a Cornwall trip and we could maybe do an assessment or two there. But we generally don't have a set assessor in that area or anyone we can rely on down there. It would be a case of one of us travelling down. Unless, George, you want to have an overnight stay in Cornwall. What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, sounds like we'll be fighting over that one, Ben. Might be worth also just mentioning, obviously, as we all know, March last year, COVID hit, and assessments for ourselves basically more or less stopped. Quite understandably, many of the patients that we serve were shielding, and it wasn't safe at that time to be going out. So embracing technology, as we've done today, it's amazing what you can actually achieve over a video assessment. Yes, I don't think you can beat a face-to-face. However, I've done multiple assessments, as have the others on the call, and very successfully, so with hospitals or private individuals over video.
Just to jump in as well, I've just seen another question pop up about assessors in Liverpool. Yes, we can assess in Liverpool. I'm wrecking your order here, Tristan, but I just thought we'd get one in. Yeah, we do assess around Liverpool.
No, that's all good. Yeah, we're often around the Liverpool, Manchester area, so certainly not a problem. Where is the chair manufactured? A very easy question. So the frame, the action frame itself is made in the UK. The metal framework is manufactured in another factory in the UK, and the rest of the chair is upholstered and made in another factory in the UK. So multiple factories, but all, we're very pleased to say, from the UK. So I'm sure we'll be all pleased to hear that. So very high quality. We certainly haven't skimped on quality here, and it's manufactured to a very high standard.
Might be worth me just jumping in on that. I didn't mention it. So a 5-year warranty on the frame and 12 months on the rest of the chair.
Is the chair available to rent or trial? Absolutely. Go on, George.
Yep, definitely, certainly, for either.
Very good. Medical devices regulation, does it comply?
Yeah, we can certainly provide certification for that to prove that it does comply.
These are some nice easy ones coming down here. Irish distributors. Over to you, George.
So I have currently got a distributor in the north and in the south of Ireland for the Lento Care chair. I will really, before appointing an official one for the Lento Rise Recline, carry out research and be able to discuss individually if those are interested, come forward.
And then we've got another question from Sandy as to the anatomy sections. So the information we've seen on the slides. The best place to find that is in our seating ebook. We've got an 88-page seating ebook which goes through all manner of conditions and things to look for during an assessment. It really is a useful resource. That's available on our website. If you go on to www.yorkshirecareequipment.com and scroll right down to the bottom of the footer, that's generally the easiest place to find it. And you'll see a little link that says under the heading of useful resources, you'll see a specialist seating ebook. Thoroughly recommend that. There's a lot of information in there, including all the diagrams and information on the postural abnormalities that we've gone through today. Pricing and VAT, that price doesn't include VAT, but obviously if it's a private individual, they won't be paying VAT anyway if they've got an illness or a disability, which probably 98% of the time people who have rise and recline chairs do. So that's not applicable in that situation. And then generally when we're dealing with NHS trusts, that kind of thing, obviously we do charge VAT, but I believe they claim that back.
Or if you're a registered charity, again, it's something where we don't have to charge the VAT. So if goods are purchased through charitable funds, you'd be exempt.
Very good. And we've got a question as to the slides coming over. We're certainly sending the slides out and a recording of this session later. Assessors that cover Perth and Kinross. Again, we can certainly cover that area. You were there the other day, weren't we, Ben? Ben often deals with some of the assessments further afield, but we've got numerous assessors on the team.
Always enjoy going across the border. I really do. Yeah, so I was it was Dumfries a couple of days ago, but yes, we would come to Perth as well. I think what would be quite a key thing, just to kind of stress on that, we would tend to do make it like a block booking really, and make sure that we're covering a couple of quite a few appointments, if you like, all in one go. We tend to allocate a day, if you like, so it would maybe be a bit further ahead in the schedule, but we can certainly accommodate that, and we would look to maybe cover 3 or 4 cases if that's okay, just to make sure that we're it's making it worthwhile for us and for yourself.
The other thing I would mention is that with the Lento Care chair, because it's so easy to adjust, and this Lento Rise and Recline chair is exactly the same, because it's so simple to adjust. We actually have a lot of loan stores throughout the country keeping them in stock now. and they can just deliver them to a home because they know they're going to fit size wise, and they know they're going to adjust to the user's postural needs. Just deliver it to the home, and then the occupational therapist or physiotherapist or healthcare professional can go in, and we've got a training video on the website for the Lento Care Chair. We're looking to do the same thing for the Rise and Recline Chair, but there's a training video on how to adjust it. There's also a really good user manual with full pictures, diagrams on how to change everything, but it's so simple. So we're well able to do that, or do the setup over or assessment over video as well. So multiple options there, really, I think is the answer. Another question: in a rehab setting with patients who are variable, do you feel the chair can accommodate a hoisted transfer?
Well, it's something that I didn't mention, but I successfully trialed the Arjosaurus Steady, which many of you will know, and similar devices with this chair. Now, the key thing, just again to move the chair back, you'll notice, unlike the normal rise and recline chairs, the bottom of the arm, of course, doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the ground, which is key, because with a normal rise and recline chair, even with the Arjo Steady on its wide display, you struggle to get the footrest. You want the front of the Arjo Steady footplate right up to the leg rest of the chair. Otherwise, you find you encourage a sacral sit because you can't get far enough back. The bottom's on there, they haven't got the strength to shuffle back, and you get that typical position that all of us see. So with the cutout at both arms of the arms there, that means that it can accommodate both the legs to splay under and get the footrest of the Steady right the way up to the leg rest of the chair. So really exciting that it's compatible with that. The same would go for hoists. Typically, it would be fairly rare to supply a rise and recline chair to somebody who's fully hoisted. They would generally need more of a support of a care chair, including a foot plate, but it can be done if you've got a certain specific patient in mind.
Very good. What level of pressure care is in the seat and back and arms? So if you can just cover off on that, and then we'll go on to the rest of the pressure care in a second, if that's all right, George.
Yeah, sure. So exactly the same as what's on the Lento Care Chair. For those that are not familiar with that, we've got a really nice soft foam here in the top of the armrest, about a couple of inches, and also on the inside edge. So we've got no hard surfaces anywhere. And I just want to really, sorry, I know I've stressed it already, but the testimonials which we've had over the last 5-6 years as to how comfortable the Lento Care Chair is, or we've replicated exactly that within the rise and recline chair. The softness and the comfort is, it really is genuinely a comfortable chair. Now, of course, you've got Dartex, which is a 4-way stretch, waterproof material all the way down the contact areas. So backrest, seat, leg rest, and top of arms. And that's key, because if we're to go for maybe a fabric or a vinyl which doesn't have the stretch that this has, then the patient's not getting the benefit of the pressure relief that the chair offers. Of course, on the outside of the chair, we've gone for a vinyl, a heavy duty vinyl, so that's going to stand up to the heavy, wear and tear of maybe in a nursing home or hospital environment. What I will say is that from the outset, we used what this is called the Ultima vinyl on the Lento Care Chair, and an excellent quality vinyl. They just recently informed us that they performed a test of 1 million rubs on the, that basically means 1 million rubs until it fails. And it really is heavy duty. It's got a little bit of stretch in it. So you can imagine when you snag it going through a doorway, you don't get that immediate tear or rip. It's got quite a bit of give to that. So it's a really good combination that we've chosen to run with.
And I think that also answers a further question later on as to, is the material resistant to constant cleaning? Certainly is, isn't it?
Yes.
Now I'm going to put you under pressure a little bit here, George. I just wonder whether it'd be good. We've had a question as to can the seat be changed over for a different pressure care cushion? Now the answer to that is absolutely. You can change it for gel, you can change it to air, you can change it to a custom cushion if needs be. But I wondered whether you'd mind just quickly showing how that's done and how easy the chair is to strip down.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
for changing parts.
Yes.
So did you want to just take the arms off and start from the top of chair and strip it down for us quickly?
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry,
So
I put you on the spot here.
No, that's fine. We've got the adjustable backrest cushions, so they just literally come off with Velcro. Each of the armrests just literally slide out. So with it being a magnetized handset, we can just magnet that to the back of the chair, remove the arm. And at the back of the chair here, we've got a seat and leg rest wrap, which is held on by Velcro. So we can adjust it, so we can remove it from the leg rest pad as well. And then we can remove the seat cushion from the chair. So very easily, we've stripped that back down to bare bones. So for a real deep clean, maybe going from one patient to another, you know, by completely removing the seat and leg rest wrap, we can really get close up to the chair and have a real thorough wash down before putting it back together again.
Absolutely, and the parts, as we've said before, are interchangeable between chairs and also between the Lento Rise Recline Chair and Lento Care Chair. So if you've got kind of like a ripped arm on one of them, you can just swap things around, make a few good chairs and leave one chair to one side until you've got the parts in stock, or you can keep parts in stock yourselves, and we keep parts here in stock as well to send out immediately. So you constantly, particularly for a loan store environment, you're able to recycle that chair time and time again very quickly without any need for tools. So it's really easy to use.
Just while we're on that point in terms of the cleaning, now I appreciate in something like a hospital environment, Velcro is a no-no. That's fine, because we do exactly this same chair with all the same levels of adjustment, but either with using press studs, so for the back and seat cushions, for example, or magnet. So for those of you in hospital environments, don't worry. If we don't need we can remove the Velcro completely and then replace it either with magnet or press studs.
Very good. I'm conscious of time. We've got two more questions. So very quickly, Ben, do the assessors have any issues coming into hospitals during cover times?
Short answer, no. Absolutely fine. We'll gladly come across and support any way we can. Yeah, I suppose it's just a case of getting the details to us and what we're looking at there, assessment side of things.
All right, I think it was more relating to COVID.
Yeah, again, fine. We bring our own PPE. We do lateral flow tests regularly. You know, we make sure we're clear and good to go. So from our side of things, there's no problem. Just obviously let us know any guidelines that we may need to adhere to, and we'll gladly follow that.
Very good. And last question, apart from the fact that the people are requesting the slides, we'll certainly send those out afterwards. But last question, I work on a stroke ward, so often we do get hoist transfers in a rise and recline chair, as the mobility is often last to come back when sitting, but sitting balance improves. Is it possible to use a hoist with this chair? Sorry if this has already been answered. I think we covered that, didn't we, as to the Arjo Steady? We've tried it with that. So the Arjo Steady goes around it. So the
mobile hoist
will certainly go around it.
Yeah. And of course, as I mentioned at the start, with the chair having 4 inches of vertical height adjustment before the tilt raises, we've got a lot of accommodation there. So for varying thickness and heights of different hoist legs, I honestly can't see any issue at all with that.
And the other thing is that obviously we've got the height adjustment and removable arms. So removable arms, we can take an arm off to help apply a sling if needs be, if you've not left one in situ. And you can also do side transfers with a a banana board or something like that. So you've got the height adjustment there as well, and you can remove the arm and then side transfer into a wheelchair or commode.
Do you mind if I just very quickly rattle through just one or two more accessories? I'm conscious of the time, and the reason we chose magnet on the handset was because you'll often find with using like a traditional hook or pocket on a rise recline chair, it's always something that the first bit to get torn or go, and then it needs a replacement arm. Well, the advantage of magnet is that you can position it, on the armrest in variable positions. And then of course, if you've got a dementia patient or somewhere where you want the handset out of the way, we can just magnet it to the back of the chair. So doubles up as a great option there. In the environment where you may have plug points varying distance away, we can get a built-in battery pack, AccuPack. You can also get trays and overbed tables to use in conjunction with the chair. So there's many different, different accessories which are available on this chair.
And you showed the cocoon backrest earlier, didn't you, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really is. I know we've said it before, but just to give that another little write-up, we've had so much success for that, giving support right from the hips right up to the head, and it's such a nice soft support as well, and extremely adjustable, particularly when you use the triangle wedges in conjunction. So I think that's that probably brings us to the end now. Apologies, we've gone a lot longer over time. We had a lot more questions than expected, but we're very excited about this new product. We really are pleased with how it's come out, and can't wait to do some face-to-face demos and actually prove that it works with different patients. Any more to add before we close, George or Ben?
No, I'd just really encourage the all on this call, use the website. It's a fantastic resource, and the resources section in terms of maybe justifications. So when putting a product forward for a particular patient, Tristan's mentioned a number of times about the seating ebook, which has a wealth of quotations and links to other resources in there. Sessions like these, which are recorded, kept online. So we've got lots of resource on there, and I'd really encourage you to, it's free, use it.
Excellent. Thank you very much all, and have a lovely afternoon and a great weekend. Trust everyone enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.